So Chad planned this kind of epic day, which involved having a lot of drinks throughout the day. And earlier this afternoon, I proclaimed that I was not at all nervous about giving speeches, and the optimal amount of drinks to have for giving a speech is like 3, and then to have the 4th one in hand. And I'm pretty far ahead of that schedule, and so I'm a little nervous about what's about to happen, but I'm just gonna, let it play itself out. So I've known Chad since high school, and of all my friends, Chad is really the first to start a family, and that's been super gratifying to see. And I thought I'd share a few thoughts both on my friendship with Chad and then also on my evolving friendship with you guys as a family, and eventually, hopefully, I will also have a family, although the trajectory is sort of flat at the moment. So, as maybe you guys grasped from my skin tone, I'm Indian, and Indian people tend to think about smartness in terms of academics. And so my whole life, I thought, okay, you're smart if you get good grades. And then I met Chad. And I was like, whoa, this guy's really street smart. In fact, this guy's kind of like the Albert Einstein of street smarts. And that led to a lot of really, really, really funny stories, of which I'm going to share a small handful. So the first one I'd say is that when Chad was in junior high, kind of applying all of the sort of creative and intellectual energy that was not going towards school, he figured out how to counterfeit money. And he figured out how to do that on his inkjet printer in his room. And it was really, really, really good. And so for months, he literally was counterfeiting money as a teenager and using it to get free food at school. And it was so good that straight up all of the people who were personnel in the lunch lines, the cafeteria, they literally thought they were receiving totally authentic US currency, but it was not. And really at some point Chad sort of was like, well, how do I take this activity of counterfeiting money to the next level? And so, he goes to one of these community dances. At the time we went to different schools, but all of the schools in the local neighborhood would get together, and there'd be this community center, and people would have these dances where there were mixers, and it was great. You'd meet people from different schools. Chad had this plan, which was, hatched brilliantly, but was going to require some execution, which was to take a whole crap load of counterfeit money in the middle of the dance floor and just throw it up and just see what happens. And so he executed on his vision, as he often has throughout, really the course of his life. And as you could expect, there was a free-for-all. Saratoga, where we grew up, is a fairly calm community, but this act of a bunch of teenagers jumping over each other and clawing at each other for this counterfeit money was something that really the whole community was well aware of for, honestly, decades to come. And to me, is a hilarious story, no doubt about it. But it really captures a lot of the things about Chad that I find pretty intriguing. He's super smart and creative, there's no doubt about it. He's also highly risk tolerant, and he's very naughty as well. And honestly, that has not changed over time, even in the slightest bit. So, when Chad decided to go to college, he went to this school in Colorado called Regis. And after his freshman year, he was like, God, I'm not learning anything here. I'm way smarter than everyone here. The academics are totally whatever. And honestly, I should just go and work. And coming from this Indian family, I was like, dude, that doesn't actually make any sense whatsoever. Probably you should get your college degree. And this is not a really good idea that you have right now. And the thing that's funny is that he was sort of like, look, I get what you're saying, but I'm just going to kind of do what I think I should do. And then literally a year after college, me and Osmond and Dexter and all of us, we were learning how to use Excel spreadsheets, and it turned out that over the course of the last 4 years, Chad had learned everything there is to know about metal recycling, and had literally built a business that was acquired for more than $100 million. And we were literally 22 years old. And so I was like, well, I guess the street smart thing is kind of interesting. And honestly, even to this day, I went to a business school where everyone thinks they're going to start the next Facebook, and everyone went to Harvard. And seriously, if I had 10 people that I could invest in, I'd invest in Chad 9 times, and I'd give Osmond and Dexter are like half of one slug, just they didn't feel good. So, you know, I feel like that's minor roast, but like I'm also kind of highlighting your good qualities. I thought I'd also discuss a few of the sort of more, I guess I'd say, vulnerabilities in Chad's overall facade. So the first is that, you know, Jasmine said that he can handle a lot of alcohol. I don't know what type of alcohol he was drinking, but that's not the type of alcohol that I've seen him drink. Because in actuality, you know, he's got a fairly modest constitution. And one time, this is going to be a funny story for Mom and Dad because they don't know about this. It happened at the house. But Chad took about 3 to 4 shots of Captain Morgan. We were, what, 19 at the time? Something like that. Cole, don't listen to any of this. And Chad just proceeds to instantly pass out. And he's sleeping in the guest bedroom downstairs. It has an ensuite bathroom, which is an important note for later in the story. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting on the couch watching TV. Chad just wakes up out of literally like the ether and starts like furiously running out of the guest bedroom, which again has a bathroom in it, towards me on the couch, and then just starts to get sick in like a very projectile fashion. And then he looks at me and he's like, got this look of utter horror. And I'm like, dude, no worries, don't feel bad. The cleaning supplies are right there. Like, just clean it up, no big deal. And he looks at me and he's like, dude, honestly, I can't clean anything up right now. I'm going back to sleep. And so he does. And I was like, okay, fine. That's fine. Chad's super lovable, like, whatever. I'm just going to deal with this. But, you know, that's honestly something that's happened a couple times since then. The second kind of, like, vulnerability I described is that he's easily distracted by shiny objects. So Katrina, obviously a very beautiful shiny object, that's one thing. But there are also other examples which aren't necessarily as pleasant. So the one that I had in mind is that when we were in college, Chad was out of college at the time, for the reasons I had previously described, and he got really into this brand of t-shirts called Ed Hardy. So anyone who doesn't know, Ed Hardy is like the t-shirt that you would get if you put a blank t-shirt on the floor and then you gave a kindergartner a bunch of like glitter and sparkles and dragons and like paste on arts and crafts, and then you just told them, hey, do whatever you want to do to this t-shirt to make it something that you'd like. And honestly, like, there were thousands of these orientations, and Chad had one of every single one of them, actually. And in fact, for 2 years, he wore an Ed Hardy t-shirt every single day. To the gym, on walks, like, probably to church if we ever went to church. Like, no matter where he went, there were Ed Hardy t-shirts. And honestly, his friendships really suffered at that time because none of us really wanted to go out in public with him. But we got through it. You know, eventually he donated all of his t-shirts to the trash can, and you know, that kind of just sorted itself out. So, you know, luckily in the last 10 years he's discovered beer, he's discovered Bloomingdale's. None of these problems really are surfacing themselves anymore. But you know, it is what it was, and those are some things to be aware of in the future if you know other brands come up, or you know, you don't really know what's going to happen nowadays. So okay, so that's kind of like it for the roasting, and I just want all of you to know that I had Dexter read my speech beforehand. I went a little bit off script, but I had Dexter read my speech beforehand. I said, hey, I think it's going to get a little too frisky. Can you read this and approve it? And he gave me 2 thumbs up. So if anything was over the line, I just want you guys to fully direct all of your anger and contempt and sort of like family shame towards Dexter. Okay, so the last part is really, you know, Chad, I've known you for a while. We're all a very close circle of friends. And, you know, there's this interesting thing that happens to me particularly, which is that when I have a close friend who ends up in a serious relationship, I start to kind of like get annoyed that they hang out with their significant other more than they hang out with me. And in this particular case, seriously, it's like the only time this has ever happened over the last 10 years. I really felt no resentment whatsoever. And I was trying to think this morning, like, why is it that I didn't feel any resentment? And it's really because you guys are so fun to hang out with as a crew that I kind of feel like you're part of our friend circle. And that honestly is pretty awesome. And I very much look forward to having like a lifetime of shared memories, and you know, our kids will grow up together. Well, I guess probably like my grandkids and your kids, your grandkids and my kids will grow up together, and it's going to be awesome. So that's going to be a great, you know, lifetime of memories. I'm really happy to be here and all of that. So anyway, cheers, and very happy to be here.
Rahul, ladies and gentlemen, great job. Let's welcome Rosanna.
Are you going to change the couch?
We didn't know it was so dirty.
I always felt I wanted to change it. Now I know why.
It smells.
All right, good evening, everybody. I want to say that all the speeches so far have been really great, which makes me just a little bit more nervous. So I'll try to keep my spot on my phone. But I'm Katrina's best friend.